Good morning, everyone. A Fox News alert for you. Iran is threatening the world's supply of oil, and the U.S. is taking this one very seriously. The rogue regime saying it will block the gateway to the Gulf. It's a narrow waterway known as the Strait of Hormuz. Tehran saying it will act if it feels its security is threatened. What does that mean? Good morning, everyone. I'm Jamie Colby. Great to have you here.
And I'm Eric Shawn on the Sunday morning, and welcome to America's News Headquarters. We know the Strait of Hormuz is a vital waterway. About 20% or 1/5 of the world's oil supply passes through that narrow strait. It's the lifeblood of many nations. Well, now Iran again vowing to increase its naval presence in international waters, and even claiming it's developing a long-range missile that some fear could one day hit the United States. So what does all the escalating threats and the continued defiance by Tehran mean? Joining us now, as he does every Sunday about this time, is Fox News contributor and former ambassador to the United Nations, John Bolton. Ambassador, good morning.
Good morning, Eric.
You know, we always discuss Iran, usually every Sunday, and now these escalations are just continuing. Can they close the Strait of Hormuz?
Well, I think they could close it for a very short period of time, but our military has gamed this out over the years, and they feel very confident they could reopen the strait in a short period of time. They're moving resources to the region right now in preparation for a possible closure. But I think really what's going on here is that Iran is saber-rattling for a couple of purposes, and that includes the reports we've seen about missile testing and the like. They're trying to ratchet up the international price of oil by making it look like there's risk to the Strait of Hormuz. They're saying basically to the United States and the Europeans that they're not going to be intimidated by economic sanctions or threats to their nuclear weapons program. And I think this is key, they're now beginning to tie the nuclear question into the Syria question. Just earlier today, Iranian media reported that the government had invited all of the factions in Syria to come to Tehran to have peace talks. So I think this is something that's been brewing for a while, but it's very clear Iran's saying, don't step on our toes.
Peace talks in Tehran. What does that signal to you?
Well, I think that the Iranian leadership is very committed to keeping the Assad dictatorship in power. There's no doubt about that. They've got a lot at stake there. That's why they have Iranian Revolutionary Guards officers helping the Assad regime in its military operations. But I have feared this outcome for a long time, that if Iran felt that the Assad regime was about to fall, they might be prepared to make a trade with the Obama administration that would go something like this. We'll give up Assad, we'll lose that pawn, in effect, to protect our queen, to protect the nuclear weapons program. You give us legitimacy for what we're doing in high levels of enrichment and a broad and deep nuclear program, and we'll be satisfied if Assad falls. I think that would be a disastrous deal for the West, but I think it's one that Iran could well angle for, and I think tying all this together is very much behind the idea of hosting peace talks among the Syrian factions.
Do you think that's a deal that the Obama administration would take and that could be offered?
Well, let me be clear. I think it's a disastrous deal, but yes, I do think the Obama administration would be inclined to take it, since their diplomacy, both with respect to Iran's nuclear weapons program and the ongoing civil war in Syria, has been such a failure. Being able to announce a success at diplomacy would give them something to tout, even though the end result, I think, would be very, very risky for the United States, for Israel, for our Arab friends in the region.
Well, this all comes as the Panetta report came out that is very troubling. Potentially, they are developing a missile that they think could hit the United States within 3 years. I mean, that report, Ambassador, was pretty scathing.
Well, it's and what's surprising people is that it follows years of reports from the administration that have downplayed Iran's success with its ballistic missile program. Let's be clear, these missiles are not to launch, weather satellites. They are designed to be the vehicles to deliver Iran's nuclear weapons when they reach that stage. So increasing the range, payload capacity, and accuracy of Iranian missiles is very much putting them closer to the point where they can deliver a nuclear weapon worldwide. And even though it may be 3 years before they had a missile that could reach the United States, Europe is a lot closer, and deployed American forces in the region of the Persian Gulf are obviously even closer.
Well, finally, apparently they could hit Europe and Israel certainly right now. So if you sketch the whole picture right now, you've got continued Iranian defiance, development of the ballistic missile systems, saber rattling over closing the Strait of Hormuz. What is the end game, and where do you see this all going, Ambassador?
Well, I think it's moving in the wrong direction. I think Iran is on the march. I think that whatever the economic pain of the new sanctions that have gone into effect, Iran is clearly showing they're not going to dissuade them from their 20-year effort to get deliverable nuclear weapons. And I think they're determined to make progress during an election campaign period in the United States where they think the Obama administration doesn't want anything from the foreign policy world reflecting on his leadership. So I think Iran's in a very strong position, and the end game is headed towards nuclear weapons.
And the U.S. now moving more assets into the Persian Gulf, especially those minesweepers. Ambassador John Bolton, always good to see you, incisive and perceptive as always. Thank you.